listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now the largest new media platform on the web and your number one source for after-show entertainment. From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies.
This is AFTERBUZZ TV's True Detective After Show.
We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show.
It's AFTERBUZZ TV's True Detective After Show.
Just call me angel of the morning.
Angel.
No.
No. I'm gonna sing it.
Don't do it, please. Welcome to the True Detective AFTERBUZZ After Show, episode 7.
7.
After
Seven.
You're Gone.
After you're gone.
That was the lovely Juice Newton singing a beautiful, I'll call it a torch song.
Is that what you're gonna call
In the
it?
morning. Well, that's what the genre's called.
I got you.
Right.
You're going. You're there. I got it.
But it's a torch song, and it's a torch song because it's one of those sort of like songs that you sing about a love that's gone or you missed or something that someone you've been
You
with.
hold a torch for.
Yes.
So,
thank you.
yeah.
That's what I'm trying to
You're
say.
carrying a torch.
Thank you, Julia. She says it so much better. than me.
Just getting.
No, you
getting
were
right
just
to
you were
it.
doing this. I'm not sure what was happening, but it
know.
was making me decidedly uncomfortable.
Welcome to the AFTERBUZZ True Detective After Show. I'm joined here, as always, by the lovely Joe Sanfelippo.
It is so nice to be here with you guys.
Thought that was coming to me.
No, but in the even lovelier
That's
Julia
feeling
Cearley.
lovely. Oh well, thank you. Hi, everybody.
And he is the effervescent Joseph Braswell.
Yes, I'm effervescing all over the place. Huh? Anyway. We're not joined by Nando Velasquez, who is out again on assignment, and he will be back very shortly.
We miss you, Nando.
We miss you, Nando. So, True Detective, after you're gone, let's get right into this bad boy because there's a lot to discuss as usual. I mean, is there just one we can just breeze through? I don't think so. There's always these episodes.
There's never enough time to discuss this show.
So dense. Well, let's talk about the title first. After You've Gone is It's actually, speaking of torch song, it's a very famous torch song. I mean, like it's years and years old. It's probably has about, I don't know, 60 different versions of this song that's been done. And Nick Pizzolatto mentioned that he, wanted to call it this and wanted to sort of, reference this sort of torch song because it's this whole thing about, you longing for this, like I said, holding a torch for someone. Oh, it's Nando. Sorry.
Oh.
Nando's calling right now. Holding a torch for someone that you've lost, and that very much applies to both Rust and Cohle because we've seen that they've, look, these are two guys who had a, uneasy partnership and friendship back in '95. It lasted all the way to 2002, and they haven't seen each other for 10 years, and now they're together, and you can see that they kind of like, they missed each other, they need each other. There's a lot going on there in that relationship.
Well, it seems like a couple guys that when they get that, there's that great scene in the Hart Investigative Services suites there when they're talking about like what have you been up to, and they mirror each other like nothing.
Right.
Like nothing really good.
Well, you remember in the last episode, Cohle says to Hart, "Buddy, without me, you don't exist."
Yeah.
And when they parted ways, they sort of ceased to exist.
Yeah, both of them.
Nothing happened in their
good point.
lives.
Yeah,
and now that they're back together, now it's like buddy cops. Like this is the best they've ever been. They really realize that they need each other.
The band is back together, as,
Yeah.
as Nick Pizzolatto said again.
Yeah?
He said we wanted to get the band back together. Now the band's back together, and we're out.
And they're better than ever.
They're better than ever. Got a little more weight on
Marty.
Marty.
That is a round tummy. He's sporting.
Marty's sporting around dummy, but he's still great. I love the fact that this whole theme of these torch song because when we open in the bar and the jukebox, the beautiful Juki, and you see our girl Juice Newton, and they play Angel in the Morning, and it's like the two guys sitting there catching up, but in an uneasy catch up because you see,
Rust.
No, Rust is very much trying to seduce. And
He's
trying
got to, yeah.
And trying to get his old partner back. but he's not having it.
No, Marty wants nothing to do with this.
Nothing to do with it whatsoever. In fact, he even says, like, if you were drowning.
I'd throw you a
Throw you a
barbell.
barbell.
I'd throw you a fucking barbell. Why should I ever help you?
Yeah. So I mean, but I love the way, like, this is sort of speaks to like the sort of the overall theme of the series with these two men is that they've always had this unspoken bond. I don't know if it's a if it's a male thing. It's this thing of like, we're not even sure we like each other. We're not even sure, if we may hate each other's guts, but we have absolute respect for each other's abilities, and it's not just so much of Marty having respect for Cole, but I think Cole in some ways has respect for Marty instead of contempt.
Well, there's so much that goes on. I've never been in the position where I've had something like this happen. Obviously, I mean, I would
Really,
imagine
you haven't had
I'm just saying
quintuple homicide.
Believe it or not, I've never been a part of something like this.
Right.
But it's really interesting the way that they talk about it. Like, we have a debt.
Right.
We are not done.
Yes.
The hero's quest is not over. We have to go back to work. And that's the whole pitch that Marty's got. That Rust has got to Marty. Like, this is not over. You have a debt. And he goes, what the fuck does that mean?
Right.
And he says, this isn't over. Now, maybe if you hadn't clipped Ledoux in '95, we'd have gotten to the bottom of this in '95. But we started this. We are finishing this.
Right.
Talk about holding a torch, not just for each other, but for this case.
Yes.
Ooh. Torch for the
songs.
case.
Yes, and it's so true, and I love how that is. It's I like Marty gives about 9,000 reasons as to why he should not have anything to do with Rust to his face. Dude, I don't even know if you know what you're talking about. Look at you. You look like maybe you made this thing up. What are you doing? You might be the killer yourself. And he gives all these sort of reasons to himself, and then Rust just says, "There's one reason. We have a debt."
We have a debt.
And he's like, "Shit." As always, which again we see over and over and over again with these guys, where Marty, whether it's him, at the bar when he's cheating on his wife, he's like, God, why did I cut that? And Russell be like, because you blah blah blah, and Marty be like, shit.
Oh yeah.
You're
Cut
right.
to the heart of it.
Oh yeah.
You're right. So,
But you got to be a certain type of person, and they both are. You got to be a certain type of person for you to take that as a debt. And obviously, the sheriff, he didn't. Sheriff Chilton, is that what you said? He doesn't take things that way.
well, yeah, we'll get there.
He's a good old boy. He wants to have a good time, and that's it. Well, that's the way the river flows, and that's the way I'm going to go.
I mean, I'll take it one step further than that. He's involved. So, like,
You think he's involved, or you think he's just covering up?
No, it's both. I think it's more of a cover up. My point is, even if he's covering up, he's involved. So it's not like I'll just let the river flow. It's like I was involved in this, so I'm covering this up. So therefore, I don't want to talk about it. So he has no debt.
When we get there, I do. One thing is worth considering. It's a possible future that Marty could have had. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, this Marty could have been Chilton.
Yeah.
Childress.
Marty could have been Childress. He could have wound up being a boss. Could have been in charge.
Yeah.
Could have
Driving
taken
the Maserati.
Right. Could have
Driving
taken
the Maserati he got.
that I pinched off somebody for a quarter ounce of weed. You
Yeah.
shithead. But I mean don't
have a quarter ounce of weed in that county.
Not in that county. No way.
No chance.
But that's the. I think it's like. I think it serves that dual purpose. It could have been Marty's future, and but if he was a different kind of guy, but you say to him, we have this debt, and he got a little enough involved to follow him to the storage shed.
Right. Well, let's get back to that. So, we have that sort of, these guys reacquainting themselves with each other. Really, at this point, it's just really about the case. It's really a lot of, and it's some great exposition there in terms of explaining, what Rust has been doing all these years,
No, it's a great device.
Yeah, it's a great device to be able to say, okay, let's fill in some gaps here. Like, why do you look like that? Whatever happened to you? Like, have you been around this town? He's like, and where has he been?
Alaska. 8 years in Alaska.
He looks like he's been 8 years.
Yes, he does.
On a fishing boat in Alaska.
How did Marty put it? He says, time has... No, he says, you look good. Russ tells Marty, you look good. And Marty says, yeah, time has his way with all of us.
Yes.
Say you must have pissed him off.
Yeah. He must have pissed him off. There's a lot of good lines. Another great line in that exchange is Russ describing very calmly describing himself. Spent the last 8 years functional but hammered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
That sounds like every Vegas trip I've ever been on. Minus the functional.
Yeah. Thank God they got people in that town to drag you around and put you at a table.
So yeah, but that is we really learned a lot about more so Russ in that moment before we get into what Marty's been up to per se. But we finally get to see what is in this goddamn storage locker. you know, and which was a moment for me. I was scared. I was as scared as Marty when, you know, the suspense of getting to that locker. I mean, I knew there was, you know, I knew it was going to be some crazy, you know, setup with the big board. I knew there'd be our famous "We Love a Big Board." I knew there'd be the big board in the storage
Big
locker.
Homeland board.
But in the big Homeland board.
Yeah, I need it.
But in that moment when he's walking up and it's like they really played it up, man. Like the music, the lights,
Even him disappearing into the
disappeared
storage
into the darkness.
unit.
I'm like, turn on the light.
You know what? I gotta say though, that for exposition, I mean, because this whole episode to me feels like it's a stop. We've got all this exciting stuff that's happened. All right, stop for a second. Now we're gonna catch everybody up because we've only got eight episodes to do this stuff. So here's what's going on for the next. All right, we're gonna orient everybody, and you know, you could do that in the most boring way possible, or you could have Marty come up with a pulled 38 and nervous. And the lights come up, and you've built tension, and you've got the tension of the whole scene, like sell me, sell me, sell me, bullshit, bullshit. It was so well done, and I love that line that Rust has. So what are you packing there? It was 38 hollow points. Yeah, well that'll do it.
That'll do it.
But also, I like the fact that he did not turn around. Like he knew that Russ was going to pull on him. I mean, that Marty was going to pull on him. Like, you know, because
Of course he would.
Look, I would too. Like
Yeah.
following Cole in that dark ass storage. Like turn on the light. So he clicks on the light, and of course it's the big board, and he just pops a beer back in there. You know, it's very, very cool.
And especially since he doesn't know what he heard from those two cops for the last interrogation.
Right.
He doesn't know what he thinks of him right now.
Right, and so in which we get into that with some more exposition about sort of why, because there's some more explaining to do. Because even at that point, you know, Marty's not on board. Like even he's less on board once he sees the big board. He goes in the storage locker with the big board and all the photos. He's like, oh, I'm really out,
Dude.
No, the guy looks nuts.
Dude, you're crazy.
He's got the thing, and so he's explaining.
10 years. This is what you've been doing?
Yes, he's got the
Well,
maps.
2 years.
He's got the no. Well, 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years since
in
he's been back.
Yes.
But I'll tell you what, I haven't lived in too many storage lockers, but 2 years in a storage locker, like, is a long time. Not that he lives there, but 2 years of like working out of a storage locker.
Oh, yeah.
That's a long ass time. You know?
But for 10 years, he hasn't let this go. It's just
No.
not the last
Yeah,
2 years.
I think you're right.
Now he's just back in the thick of it where it all took place and with momentum.
Right.
So what do you think? Do you think he went to Alaska and fished for as long as he could until he couldn't take it anymore, until it built up in his mind, until he had to come back?
Well, yeah. Well, he said as much.
Yeah.
He essentially said that he left and he spent a lot of time trying to forget, trying to maybe think that he's made this whole thing up, or maybe he starts to think that there's this conspiracy theory that he knows is there, but he's trying to ignore it. He drank a lot of it away. He did a lot to sort of get through this whole situation.
To numb himself.
And then he only came back with, this isn't right. I've got to go back and repay this debt. But I like the fact that what I'm curious about is to why did it take him 2 years to get to the point where he wanted to find
Well,
Marty?
he said that he only is talking to Marty because of the investigation. He wasn't going to bother him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And-
he
and-
needed him.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if it's a matter of he needed them, or if now that it's as hot as it is, he's not going to be able to get any information. He's not going to be able to find anything without somebody on the
That's
inside.
what I'm saying. He needed him. He
Yeah,
has
okay, yeah.
the access.
We're saying the same thing.
We're
You're
saying-
you're right.
I am. You heard it here, folks.
Yes.
I'm right.
So in the storage locker, they have an exchange, and they do, they look through the stuff, and he's still not buying it.
Well,
Go ahead.
Well, they talk about Wellspring, and we get a little more on Wellspring. We get the 14 schools, and we get that they're within a 10-mile radius. All these kids have gone missing. 2 times as many missing down by the bayou, which I wonder if that's a real stat or not. I wonder if that's something that sounded real to me.
Yeah,
Someone should do an investigation on that.
You're a West
Study.
Coast bastard. You want it to be real.
I guess maybe that's the truth. And then you get the 1988 child molestation accusation, Shepherd's Flock, Lied to the Way, and then we land on Toby Boulaire, or Johnny Joni.
Johnny.
Johnny.
What a
get
great
to-
character.
Oh,
he was.
yeah.
Yes.
I loved.
Great name, Johnny Joni.
Great everything. Like,
well, this show's really good at these sort of like guest star spots, as our good friend
Rob Beitzel had a great one.
Robert Beitzel did, and they're really good at these sort of like these little moments here. And Johnny was great. It sounds like that sounds like a I don't know, like a David Bowie song or something. Like an Elvis Costello song.
Johnny Joni.
Yes. I don't know, but it's great. So there's that story. I do like that they're still using these flashbacks as devices too. Is not not too heavy-handed with them, but you gotta fill in some of the blanks here.
Yeah.
And you get the progression, which I also enjoyed because you saw we got to see Rust interviewing Johnny Joni a couple years ago.
Yes.
And Rust didn't look nearly as jacked up as he looks now.
He had the hair.
Oh.
He had the hair, but that was it. Otherwise, he still looked Matthew McConaughey. He still looked like all right. He looked good,
Right.
But
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. And then you see these last 2 years, whatever he's gotten into these last 2 years has just worn on him.
Yeah, I mean, so it's the photos.
He's a man obsessed.
Well, the
Johnny-
unifying factor here seems to be our real because we thought here's the thing, we thought all this time that we talked about the monster, we talked about what this Yellow King may be, of this monster. We always thought it was Reginald Dew. Right? I mean, sort of leading up to this thing, we saw him in the tidy whities and the gas mask, and we thought, here's the monster. Like, that's kind of what we thought. But we know now that he's not the monster. The monster is a man with the scars. Right?
Oh, we talk. Johnny Joni talks about asleep but not asleep, so you get the idea he's drugged.
Well,
maybe
he's talking about his experiences in school.
Right.
Right. So go on. I'm sorry.
And well, he said his eyes were closed, but he couldn't move, but he was awake. What did he say? He was looking at the inside of his eyelids, and he's talking about the men. They were taking pictures and doing other things, and they had animal faces. So he thought it was a dream, and then the scarred up face was so bad, he just assumed that was a dream too. And then Marie Fontenot, she's the only other one that he thought
God.
was new. Everybody else, they didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Terrible stuff, man.
Well,
it's
terrible
very
stuff.
unsettling.
I mean, and speaking of which, I mean, this is kind of the thing that really sort of pushes Marty over the edge and realizes that beyond the fact that there's a debt to be paid and what needs to happen is that, unfortunately, he pops out the VHS tape, which, I don't know.
I had the most overwhelming sense of dread for
Yes.
for what was that? Maybe like a minute and a half of Marty putting the tape in and Marty making the decision to turn it on, and the little clips that we got to see, and
Yeah.
then pull back from it and you see his reaction.
Man, I mean,
I had a bad feeling of what was on that tape.
I mean, this is, we talked about this before. This is kind of this is now as a device, and Nick Pizzolatto says it says as much. Like, this is a device they use. He says he doesn't want to really get into, this isn't a show. He hates gore. He doesn't want to get into a show about what really actually happened. So we have a lot of reaction. And I talked about last week about what are this is what's driving these guys mad. They've seen some shit. Whatever he saw in the in the container. Whenever they see something.
he sees in the microwave.
He sees in the microwave, which we get glimpses of, but it was just so well shot because it's as any horror genre person knows, it's much more scary to see someone's reaction or to let your mind imagine.
And it's what you see in your mind is
It's 100 times more horrifying.
And it's
always going to be worse than what's actually there.
That's how the Greeks did it. They weren't allowed. They would never show anything on stage. With the Greeks in ancient theater, they would never show anything on stage. They'd come off stage. They go off stage, kill somebody, and then have that person come out on stage with reaction to what had happened. Wow. And they felt that evoked more from the audience. And I think it does
works.
here.
Yeah.
And that was. I mean, really, what was in that video was guys in costumes holding a little kid's hands, and then eventually holding a little kid's ankles. That was it. And that was enough to destroy us.
It was. I mean, it was a sacrifice that was not, good. And Cary Fukunaga talk about shooting. He's talking about how he shot that scene. I mean, I'm just breaking through a little bit on here. And he's talking about how he did it really quickly, but he shot just a small room where they shot it. So really just him in an old school Betacam, and he just went in there and got it quick, and then that was it. I mean, obviously they only shot what they showed him, assuming, but man, Woody Harrelson, what a great, fantastic acting job there with that reaction. Because, like you said, I had the same dread when McConaughey rolls up and drops the flask. I'm like, oh no, not the flask. Like, what? Not the flask.
There was a lot of drinking going on in this episode.
Yeah.
Every scene, there's swigging beers and swigging off flasks and Jameson.
And drinking.
Every single
I'm
scene,
sorry, not
pretty
drinking, and
much.
smoking the whole time. Like, there was
Yeah.
a lot of doing damage to ourselves. One thing I think we skipped a little bit is talking about Erath and this rural sense of Mardi Gras.
Sure.
And Saturnalia and this idea of a winter festival with the antlers and the masks.
And how the deeper down they get to in the bayou, the more they have a weird rural
different
sense,
kind
a
of-
rural
a
sense of
rural
Mardi
sense of
Gras,
Mardi
right?
Now, what they
Gras.
call it? Courrier de Mardi Gras?
Yes.
You know, if you look it up on Wikipedia, you know, or anything else, it's really even the pictures that they're putting up that are kind of designed to be benign are creepy as hell.
Yeah.
You know, and the idea is that it sounds like the idea is that there's like a captain and he's in charge of the revelers. And the idea is it comes from this French tradition of going and begging toward the end of the winter because the nobles had the money and the peasants didn't have any money, and so towards the end of the winter they'd run out of food and they'd go as a group and beg at the nobles' houses, and then they'd put on a show. They'd kind of do a little song and dance, maybe they'll mess around.
Then they throw beads, right? And they flash their boobs.
And they flash their boobs, and then they drink a lot on Bourbon Street.
That's
That's my Mardi
Oh
Gras.
wait, that's a different Mardi Gras.
Oh, okay.
So I guess in the old French version, they'd go and beg, and then the nobles, if they did a good enough performance, would deign to throw them some food, an old potato or something. I think it's in the song. So, but there was captains, and the captains were kind of like the wealthier families among the peasantry, or the wealthier families in a given area when they moved down to the south. It sounded like. So maybe the Tuttles would be kind of in charge of something like this, and they had the captains had whips. They had burlap whips, and the idea was you make sure that people don't get too out of line, but you want them to get out of line. That's part of the idea behind it. Jesus. And so you chase a chicken through the mud, and you ride on the horses. And I have no experience with it, but this is what I've read. It sounds like this is kind of like where maybe the idea of these guys in masks, with a Tuttle at the head, kind of comes from. And you know, we get that little taste at the end when when Scarface on the what you call them, lawnmowers says my family's been here a long time.
Yes.
So they've been doing this stuff a long time.
Yeah, I mean, and this is a tradition there. So we get, and thank you for that. We know, so now we know, you know, and all the pieces are starting to really make sense. And really, I mean, at this point, you know, Cohle, and again, great job with the exposition there, because within the first 15 minutes of this episode, we've got all the history. We were able to get completely caught up in the investigation of the last 2 years, as it leads back to 2002 and then way back to 1995, and then we can just get on with it. We can get on with the new version.
Yeah.
You know, Rust and Cohle 2.0. I mean, Rust and Cohle, Marty and Cohle 2.0, going out and doing some more stuff, which is fantastic.
I just love the idea of breaking into all of Reverend Billy Lee Tuttle's houses.
All of them.
I just love the idea of the good Reverend of the Neon Cross. I love that he has 4 properties at least to be brought. I am so.
love it. I
That
wrote it all.
was some good cat burglar shit too.
Yeah, it
Dressed
was.
in black,
Right?
jumping over walls,
He said
cracking
it.
safes.
You know, and he said I was aware that I might have lost my mind. You
Yes.
know?
Because Marty was
That's a
like,
great line.
He was like, "Now you broke into the man." He's like, "Well, trust me, I think I might have
I
my
was
mind.
aware.
I'm aware this is crazy, you know." But yeah, but when that's how we found the tape.
Yeah.
Right? So.
And those
And
pictures, which were unpleasant.
which again we weren't able to see what's in the pictures as well. So moving on, so we do find out what happened, and you know, once they decide they're going to work together and get this thing cracking again, we do see them go into the Hart Detective Agency, or the Hart Recovery. Is that what it's called?
Hart Investigative Solutions.
Hart Investigative Solutions, and get to work, and look like, you know, they have, you know, it's kind of a cool moment, I think, because they have not all the same resources, and you know, even Hart says, like, I don't subscribe to all the services, I don't do this, but you know, they have the resources, so they're gonna actually get down dirty and do some detective work. And I just had this real cool kind of a reset sense of like, wow, here's where we get into some real true detective work. And I'm like, here we are. So, you know, so it's really kind of cool as to what we saw them do in 95, what we saw them do in 2002, you know, and then compared to like how they're going to do this now. These guys are seasoned. They've worked together before. They've been through everything. They're almost, in this sense, probably as well prepared for this moment as they've ever will be in their entire lives.
And they don't have the restraints and red tape of being within their bureau.
No.
Or being in CID, is that what they're in?
Yes.
But they
Yes.
also don't have the protection of that, and I think that's that was interesting when Marty went to go see Maggie, and you know, he's basically saying goodbye. You know,
Well, is he? I mean, how did you? Well, hold on. How did you read that, Julia? That's a question I have here. Was
yeah,
he
I
saying
have a
goodbye?
question about that too. I think with Cohle coming back into his life and them sort of, I'm not saying that they've made up, but there's an understanding between them. Now I think it's a good time for him. He feels it's a good time to revisit Maggie,
Right.
catch up with the children, which I'm surprised that he's not as involved with his children's lives, being such an advocate for children and
Sure.
and
That was
so
a
in love
bummer,
with his
wasn't it?
family. I really thought he would be more involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But maybe she took them away. Maybe that was her doing.
Yeah.
She's got a fancy schmancy new house. I don't know. She married up.
yeah,
That's
well,
for sure.
And she's she's definitely sort of dressing different.
Yeah,
and
she's a
seems to
different
be-
woman.
Different woman entirely, and there seems to be hints that not only does maybe Marty not see the kids at all, if at all, but the kids are maybe having some problems as well.
Well,
Yeah, we've-
Avery seems to be having. Avery's on meds, but he apparently
Audrey.
I'm sorry. He has no relationship with Audrey at all. He's going to buy a painting of hers
If he can
afford it. And there's no like, hey, I'm going to call her. I'm going to buy a painting. That's going to be my contribution.
Yeah.
That'll be my involvement.
Well, if you
so whatever
remember,
happened,
Maggie came from a pretty highbrow background as well.
Sure.
So I think she's just re-assimilated into that life, the life that she was raised with, life that she is comfortable with. She kind of slummed it with him for a long time. That didn't work out. So I'm sure her family pulled her back in.
Right. Yeah, that was a very, very poignant scene for a few reasons, because you have that moment, like they haven't seen each other in 2 years and they're very cordial to each other. A lot clearly has gone down, and there's that moment when he said he was working with Rust. And how the officers asked him about what was going on with Rust, and there's that weird that he didn't want to ask, but he had to ask. Have you seen him?
Yeah,
have you
that was
talked-
painful.
Yeah,
Ooh.
have you talked to him, Rust?
and she says not sense, and just
Not
just
sense.
not sense. No, we're not going to say sense what. Just not
Just
sense.
not
We
sense.
know. We
And
know
I,
what it is.
and she's got the coffee in her hand, and she's so put together. Yeah, it was very well done. I enjoy that.
Very well done. So then she asked the question, which is the question I'm asking you guys. You don't come around in 2 years. What's going on here?
Let me ask you guys a question about this. Did she seem somewhat, maybe a teeny bit disappointed that they're friends again? Like her little thing didn't mean enough to keep them permanently?
Oh, I didn't read that at all.
Is that something I read into it?
Yes, I think so.
What do you think, Jules?
I'm thinking about that.
All
That
right,
didn't
you
really
think about
cross
it.
my mind. But I
I'm
don't
not saying it was like a huge
think
thing,
there was
but I felt like it
disappointment,
was
but
there
I
a little
think
bit.
there was a little worry.
What I read in this situation is, especially when she goes to another fantastic scene when she goes to see Russ at the bar, which is just another great sort of heart-wrenching exchange, because she keeps asking him questions and he never answers. She'll say how are you? Have you been? He's like, he'll answer it like, looks like you've doing well for yourself. Like he'll ask a question with a statement, but never really directly addressing her. He kept his distance emotionally and even in the conversation.
She ruined him.
Yeah, and then she said, get out of here, you're classing up the joint. But what I got in that moment, when she asked him, look, you just make sure, please assure me that it's not gonna hurt him. It's not gonna hurt Marty.
Can't do that.
Can't do that.
Well, I think it's.
Go ahead.
I think it's interesting. It seems like we're trained by TV a little bit to have certain things we accept, and I think that this episode is kind of is setting us up in that regard. Like we see both the guys when they're over there at Hart Investigation, and they're having their discussion about what have you been up to. They're both basically going wake up, go to work, go home, drink, watch TV, go to sleep.
Right.
That's what they're doing. Right. And I've seen, Marty says he's seen a couple of girls and nothing serious, and he's doing his work, but that's it. They're not. I don't go out late. I go home, and it sounds like they're both living mirror images. I mean, obviously, Hart looks like he's doing better than Russ does,
Right.
but they're not doing anything. Right. And when this case comes along, they don't have any family. They don't have any relationships that matter. Right. And so it seems to me like they're getting ready to die. Right. Almost like there's gearing up to do whatever needs to be done, and if it's a suicide run at the hill, we're going to do it. And I think it's odd to kind of be paid enough attention to this show to feel like, okay, I'm being told that this is what might happen, and I'm okay with it. And it's just interesting. I think that might be where we're getting set up to go.
I think so. I mean, I agree. I did like that. What I've got once I had the Maggie and Marty exchange, and then the Maggie and Rust exchange, and then of course seeing Rust and Cohle. I keep saying Rust and Cohle. Seeing Marty and Cohle back together again, doing their thing. I get the sense that like these are three people who, despite all they've been through, not only respect one another but really care about one another. I mean, they have a bond. All three of them have a bond in a way that they can't really, obviously Rust and Hart have a bond through through working together and in this case and seeing what they've seen and been through. Obviously, Maggie and Hart were married and they have a bond and share children. And clearly, whether they like it or not, Rust and Maggie have a bond because what occurred between them through all their sort of like sexual tension and frustration, what occurred through them is what sort of ruined all three of these people to a certain extent.
And they're also all bound together by secrets, by
Yes.
secrecy. They're all lying
Right.
at some point.
And I like how the other question that Marty asked was, did you tell the cops, that what happened?
Right.
I think that's the basis of that visit. I think
Yeah.
that was the driving force in that visit.
Yeah.
But I think there was a little battle with head and heart in that one.
Sure.
It almost feels Arthurian, whatever the term is. Like King Arthur and Guinevere and Lancelot. You had that
Yeah.
love triangle and basically they both have to check in with her at the end to get Excalibur back to go fight.
Yeah.
And so it feels that
that's
way.
great. I love that.
It feels like they both have to check in with the same girl, or
Yeah.
and now they're going to go out and have that last the ride off and
Yeah.
that's the vibe I
I
get.
love that, Joe Sanfelippo. That's the best thing you said in 10 years.
You're welcome.
I love
10. That's very strong.
It's strong. No, I do.
That's a
I
solid
do
decade.
love, but I do.
Wow.
I do love the
Talking out my ass for 10 years.
It's true. No, I do love the King Arthur reference because that you have these old knights, if you will, who were in battle, best friends together. They are split apart by the same woman who they both loved, and now years and years later they're back together to do the same quest. But there is that mutual sort of respect and love. there.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really smart.
You're a smart guy,
I
Flip.
love that.
Every 10 years.
The best. That's the
Wait,
best thing.
wait. In 2024, I'm going to drop another one. It's going
Oh
to
my
blow
God,
your
I can't
mind.
wait. I cannot wait.
Yeah. So let's get back to this investigation. So we jump back and they actually start going on. And hey, what do you call a black guy who talks an open mic about True Detective?
Oh, you call him a pilot.
A host, you racist.
Oh, you racist. That was that was great. So yeah, I love it was some good old fashioned sort of like once they establish what they have to do and they have to go out and beat the pavement and do some work here. Again, one thing that Nick Pizzolatto pointed out is that now we sort of see. Back in the old days, it was Hart who actually went out and was pounding the pavement and getting the work done, and Hart was actually back at typing shit up and back the thing and da da da. And now we see Marty's out there. Marty's out there like hitting the doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be real, that was some deep work, man.
I mean,
He
all those
says,
boxes.
yeah, before 05. Well, that's going to be over in the boxes,
Yeah,
over in the
like,
archive.
shit.
Open that door. That was ugly.
That was ugly, but he's actually doing the work. But also, to get to the opportunity to do the work, he's got to go schmooze and tell black pilot jokes, and he's got to
He's a people person.
Pulls out bottles of 12-year-old 12-year-old scotch.
If
and-
you're a single malt guy,
Yeah.
you do have a vulnerability.
Yeah,
Because
that-
people can give you a bottle of single malt and get an awful lot out of you.
That's trust me, I'm one of those guys.
That is the truth.
It's very true. So that was cool, and then so he's got some information there, and they get to work. And one of the things that they do, before we get to the visit to back to the projects, which was very interesting. But I do want to talk about good old Sheriff Childress, and that initial exchange, like sort of him going out to the golf course and. Yeah, I do agree. Is that you said the life that he could have had? That
Yeah,
Hart could have had?
absolutely.
That was I really saw that moment where he's out there in the golf course and doing the George Bush watch this drive and doing that whole move. Like what girl? I don't know.
We will hunt him down everywhere. Now watch this drive. Oh, that was beautiful.
He pulled that move, and so I don't know. But yeah, that was he did some good detective work there as well.
No, he did, and you really get that soft touch from him.
Yeah.
And Childress, he's no slouch either. He's in that Maserati, and he says, I'm happy to help out in any way I can. Have him give me a call.
Yeah.
Have him give me a call. But send him over. I'll take care of him.
Yeah.
Which we should go back.
Methinks he doth protest too much.
Ooh,
Oh yes.
ooh, we brought it back.
Yes, we should go before that when it was Hart is doing this groundwork, but he's also kind of reluctant. It's like how am I supposed to do that? And he's like he's a sheriff. How am I supposed to he won't talk. And Cole says, "I've got a pair of jumper cables
There's a battery that says
part."
different.
Yes. I love that line. I got a car battery and jumper cables that argue different.
Oh, I love it.
And so obviously he has that conversation with him, and all of his spidey senses go off. He drives off in a Maserati, and he's very pissed.
Yeah.
He's pissed. He's been lied to his
Get
face.
your
He's
jumper
like,
cables
"Oh,
ready.
we might need that jumper cable
He's
batteries."
fucking lying.
He's lying, which is also fantastic. So I love this. I love this this new Hart and Cohle. They're a great team.
Yeah. They always
Hard
were.
and cold. But no, sorry.
Oh.
Terrible. I have to apologize
It's
for that
really
one.
bad. 10 years, huh?
10 years. I tell you, you
for
gotta
that
wait.
one.
It's gonna be a while.
So Julia, so continuing on, the next part of the next thing they do is they go down and they visit
Go to the project.
the projects and visit the
She worked for the for the Tuttles.
She worked for Sam Tuttle, right?
Yes.
Sam Tuttle.
for 19 years. 18 years? 19
And
years.
she had a lot of information, didn't
Ooh,
she?
yes, she did.
Yeah, she came out the dementia pretty hard, man.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Very,
I
very.
can't find the name of that actress on IMDb.
Yeah,
she
she
was
was great.
incredible.
Man. Again, another scene-stealing performance.
Yeah,
These
exactly.
people
He
come in,
writes these great scenes, like one scenes
and
for
these actors and actresses come in and just knock it out
Oh,
of the park
yeah.
every time. That was
great
great.
showcase of these actors.
So and again another scary, not very reminiscent of the girl in the young girl in the asylum, in a moment where everything seems to be fine and then something snaps. And
Well,
then,
it starts with very pleasant memories,
Oh, yeah.
pleasantries of the
Yeah.
kids running around everywhere, and she answers these questions so matter of factly of all his extramarital affairs and how he pretty much would hit it and quit it.
yes.
And it paints such an interesting picture, doesn't it? Like it, and especially to use her as the device, because it paints the picture from the help's point of view. And you know, here's Sam, here's the big guy, and he had all these kids, and he never, you know, he never hit it again, right? Once,
And I think that they
once
were
he
all
got there.
virgins. Was that what we were alluding to? That he had a penchant for virgins?
Once
and
he got
once
them,
that he
was over it.
de-virginized them, then
Well,
it was
yeah.
over.
And kids, and the idea that you could do that, the idea that you could, and maybe you still can. I mean, we don't know, but maybe there's parts of the country you can still do that in, where you have basically, you know, you can have as much as you can afford, and oh wow, that was something, wasn't it?
All that was not great to hear. But when Hart, when Cole busts out the Taxman book and breaks out the figures, things seem to change a lot, which was really scary. Carcosa. She flipped out.
She did. She went into some trance, sort of.
Yeah.
Screaming, death is not the end. Rejoice, Carcosa, death is not the
Yeah.
end." What?
Yeah.
Ah!
So whatever was going on with the Tuttles in the 18 years, they definitely got their. Is this? I mean, I'm asking because I was a little confused. I mean, does this mean that she was just sort of indoctrinated in the Tuttle ways? Is this something? This is some old Bayou stuff she's known? Is this like? I mean, what happened there?
Maybe it's a little post-traumatic.
Is it PTSD?
Yeah.
I mean, how did you read that?
Well,
Joe?
I always feel like I have a tendency on this particular show with this area to feel almost. Condescending is not the right term, but it's so foreign to me that I go, well, that could be a thing, and I don't know, maybe it could be a thing where like there are people that live there and have lived there for generations and live there now, and this is a thing. And it sounds like when I looked up that certain type of Mardi Gras,
Right.
you know, what do you call it, Corps de Mardi Gras, that's a real thing. And by the way, it's tomorrow.
Yeah,
just so
Fat
as you all
Tuesday's
know.
tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. But that's that's a real thing, and it's so specific. And I mean, as you page through it, it is so specific, and it's so specific to an area. So I mean, yeah, maybe it could be that the idea would be that everyone in that area knew about this thing.
But why did she go
I'm
off into
thinking
that
maybe-
crazy? It was like terror. It was like I don't know what it was. It was sort of like she was a true believer.
That's what it felt like.
When
Yeah.
you're a servant in a family like that, in that area of the country, at that time, for that long, you are completely immersed in all facets of that family. I can't help but to believe that she was drawn into it in some way, living this life with them.
Right.
That she saw these things going on. That she maybe helped set it up or helped bring the people in or whatever she did. It was her lifestyle with them.
Very true. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what exactly happened. I still don't quite understand. I'm sure that some folks on YouTube and iTunes will help us out with that because I just was afraid. That's all I know. But in that so they got out and the daughter was very much like she has dementia. It's not making much sense. And
F you pay me.
Yeah, you can't pay me. But then Cole says, "Made a hell of a lot of sense to me."
Yeah, and what does he say? Russ says, "Wouldn't it be awful?" He says, and then Marty says, "What?" Well,
I hope she's wrong.
Yeah, I hope she's wrong. That's
Is
what
it
it was.
about what? Is it about death being the
Death
end?
not being the end.
Death not being the end.
Ah.
That was, another line there because these poor guys have seen some shit. The other thing that Russ said, going back and when they had that, I want to just go back to the sort of exchange when when they were talking about where they've been in this whole time and sort of how they've lived and what they're doing the day to day. And Hart was like, "You've never asked me that before," and it's kind of like, well, I mean, shit, like we're boys. Let's talk about this stuff and how similar their lives was, and just that glimpse into specifically Hart's life. It just seemed sort of very sad from this guy who was rolling all that dick swagger back in, 95 to 2002. Like now he's just kind of like, surfingmatch.com.
With the hottest of hot little booty shots, and now
now he's like,
wah, wah.
yeah, like clicking through match.com.
Leaving
and
a little
people
something to be
his
desired.
age, and it's like, I don't know. It's just kind of a weird sad state of affairs for him. Very lonely, obviously. And, Cohle, clearly Cole's not doing much better in his own way. And I don't know, man. It's like it's just something about what this case has done to these two men, and what these two and then what their lifestyles back then, and the triangle with Maggie has done with these two men. And it feels like that solving this, it goes beyond sort of like paying a debt. It just sort of feels like them finishing this and solving this case is their way out. Is their way out of this sort of mundane life that they've been living, this trap they've been put themselves into. They put themselves in this sort of torturous purgatory since 2000, since 2002.
Well, it's indicative of the story of the Yellow King.
Exactly.
And reading that play.
Yes. One of the things that Russ did say is when described, why, Hart's like, why, why do you do this? And he says, my life has been a circle of violence and degradation, and why did you come back?
Ready to tie it off.
Ready to tie it off. And I don't know, does that, that feels like, this kind of brings me to not my last question, but another question I have for you guys. It feels like these guys are both sort of heading towards the end, right?
Yeah, that's what I've said. I agree with you.
I mean, like the goodbye to Maggie, maybe. My life's been a circle. I'm going to tie this thing off. I hope she's wrong about death not being the end. These are guys like that are whatever they're going to find here, whatever they're willing to do to close this case. It feels like it's beginning to feel like it might end.
They have nothing left to lose.
That's what I was saying earlier. We've been trained watching TV enough and reading enough stories that we know that these guys have been set up to die. They've got nothing left to live. This is the last thing they got to do. They got to get this done. And we know that what they're going up against is, Tuttle, Eddie's the state senator. Billy Lee's dead because Eddie probably killed him.
Sure.
And so we know that even if they win, they're probably going to lose. So there's no real hope that they're going to walk away from this.
Right.
This is pretty. It seems to me like it's pretty much a suicide mission. We're going to go up the hill and hope for the best. We're going up Hamburger Hill and hopefully we'll get down, but we probably won't.
So they want to get down?
I don't know if they care. I mean, I think you're right. I think it's been such a thing for both of them. Everything has stopped until this is done. I think you're right. I think it's kind of like become like a holdup for them. And all to go back to the Arthurian idea, it's their holy grail. Like once they get it, what's left? Or maybe we can move on. But I think more than likely it's all over.
Like Thelma and Louise.
Like Thelma and Louise, holding hands, driving off the cliff. It's all Brad Pitt's fault.
Spoiler alert. Hello. So now let's get back to what I love when they decide to have that conversation with Sheriff Childress on the boat, which was also very well. There's a very like sort of Italian, Joe, you know about this, some Sicilian Italian mafia, mood to that. Just the whole notion of how you guys do it.
Yeah,
it's
that's how we do
It's this thing like when he's talking to him, like they're shooting the shit, drinking some beers, fishing. He's like, so about that thing, he's like, oh, that thing again? Yeah, about that thing. Let's talk about that thing. And so like, I thought that was over. Yeah, I want to know about the thing. He's like, well, I told you I'm gonna know about the thing. It's like, all right.
Let's just not talk about it. Let's have ourselves a nice day, enjoy some fishing. All right, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to ask you about it again. But he's going to have some.
That was some
This guy has
cool
something to say.
ass shit. That was straight out of Goodfellas meets Godfather meets everything.
That really did. It did feel
Right,
like
Joe?
it did feel straight gangster. Didn't it?
So is that how you guys do it though? Tell me.
Yeah. Thanksgiving's a bitch. Like it's like, is the turkey ready? Oh, you're gonna ask me if the turkey's ready, and then no. Oh, I don't know about the turkey, but this guy.
Yes.
That's how we do.
All right. I like that lull to us, like feeling like everything's fine and comfortable. I mean, why not just get them on the boat and do it immediately? Like, why not get them on the boat? Like, hey,
Well, what the hell fun is that?
Yeah, to get 'em
before we
out.
sit down and before we cast this lure, I got a couple questions.
You know what it is? I think we're going to give you one last chance to not be an asshole.
Exactly.
We've
That's
given
true.
you one last chance. Just maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're an asshole. Okay, here we go.
Yes.
Doing it the hard way. And they had to get him all the way out there. I don't know if you guys have ever been on the bayou before.
I have not. Have you been?
Yes. And it is, it's quiet and it's isolating and it's eerie.
I would imagine it's scary.
And
as
it's
all
kind
get
of like the coolest place ever.
Yeah?
But
Right.
I imagine it to be terrifying and there's really no way out.
Right.
It just is a mass expanse that goes on forever of marshland and crazy animals.
Especially when
Enough for me, man.
especially when Russ Cole is pointing a
Yeah.
Glock at your face
You want to
Yeah.
get out of there.
with gloves on.
With gloves.
He means business.
We've established that when the gloves come on in this
Yes,
show,
it's
bad
true.
shit's gonna happen.
Anytime
It's
you see someone put on some
true.
gloves, bad stuff's gonna
We're
happen.
not gonna leave any marks on us, and we're not gonna leave any stuff behind on you.
And what did Childress say? Like, I'll have Boss Cracker splitting your ass in
Yep.
Angola.
Yep.
Like, that's something. I don't know. That's a great line.
That's a great line.
Yes.
I don't think it has to do with hitting him in the buttock. I
No.
don't think so.
No.
I got a different vibe.
And Angola is not a pleasant place.
No, it doesn't sound like a pleasant place at all.
I don't want to go to there.
And I do not want to go to there.
Yeah. So that happens. So we'll get to see how that's resolved next week, and I mean we'll maybe get in that to predictions, but I mean well hopefully he'll be forthcoming with a gun to his head and not have to get the shit kicked out.
I don't know. This runs deep. This
Yeah.
is multi-generational.
And
Yeah.
once you like the only person that can fire a sheriff is the governor. So once you pull a gun on a sheriff,
You are committed.
so they have to kill him. I mean, or tie him up. I mean, what happened? Like
Tie him up permanently?
this is I don't know. Like, and they can't really kill him. So what happened? They
they
get all
can.
the info out of him, and then they let him go to do what? Like this is I don't know what happens here.
I don't see
How does the boat end?
I don't see how he gets out of this one. I don't. Or unless you just throw him overboard and leave him to the alligators.
Okay, maybe you just tie
Crocodiles?
him up.
I don't
and
know.
then-
Whatever's down there.
Chompy things.
Chompy things. Y'all got some chompy things?
Chompy things.
It also sort of depends on his level of involvement in this, because as you see, both these men have zero tolerance from anyone who's involved in this thing, even minorly or majorly. So
No
Well,
doubt.
he's a Childress. We've
Right.
learned this. And so is the man with the scars. He's a Childress.
right.
So this is as bad as it gets. This is the family.
Which brings us to the final sequence.
Your guys came out.
They were
Your
great.
guys. I was watching. I was like, Joe is so excited. We've been waiting for them to get out of the office all
And
year.
You know what? That was a great little exchange. They had a very Marty and Russ level exchange in the car about sort of driving around directions and there's nothing out here. That was really great. So that was cool. So they did stop for directions. They're looking for the church.
Mm-hmm.
And who do they see?
They see the spaghetti man,
The spaghetti man.
Yellow King.
Now,
No green ears. But you know when you're driving a lawnmower like that, a lot of times they wear the big green
the thingy-dingies.
ear things like these, only green.
oh yeah,
That Julia chick's pretty smart.
yeah.
Once every 5 years for me.
Boom.
right.
You're like double smarter than me.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I paused. I didn't see. Was he scarred up?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
scarred up.
it's not as bad as I thought it would
In my
be.
head, I'm like, he's like really, really scarred up. But he's
Well, I mean, according to the spaghetti face
right.
drawing,
I'm
I
like, he
saw
ain't got
that.
no spaghetti face.
Well, you think about it. If you're a little kid, he's huge, right? If you're a
Yeah.
little kid, he's enormous. And if you see that kind of scarring like that, if you're a little, that's
That's what
a
the
lot.
children always remember. That's what Toby remembered. That's what Kelly in the hospital remembered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they remembered, not just as a child, but at that church. I mean, he's had 3 references to the man with the scars.
Yes. So this
It's memorable.
So this episode sort of ended the way episode 3 ended, where you have the look at the monster, and like you see that last shot, and you see the monster, you see Ledoux and the tidy whities and the gas mask doing the fuck you walk, and now we see the man with the scars, the spaghetti face, doing the fu mo, I guess is what he's doing.
In a circle.
Listen, this next scene, I want you to mow, but I want you to mow with like some real dark attitude. Can you do that?
I got it. We'll call it the fu mo.
The F you mow.
So,
funny.
but you made a good point, Julia. He's going in.
He's going in a circle. The reference, the theme of the circle keeps on coming up, not only throughout this entire season, but through this episode a lot. They make a lot of reference to it. Time is a flat circle, the circle of violence and degradation.
Yes.
The spiral,
Yes.
spiral symbol, the
Yes.
ever expanding circular fuck up, he
Yes,
says.
yes,
Pardon my
yes.
language, but he
It's
says
all
it.
right.
It's a direct quote.
It's an
And
HBO
now
show,
we
you're fine.
have Bernie face guy. Scarface guy. Bernie face?
Spaghetti
Bernie Face, Bernie Face, Mo. What did we decide? Mowing. What?
F.U. Mo.
F.U. Mo.
F.U.
Bernie
Mo.
Face did an F.U. Mo.
Just mowing in a nice circle, nice
Yes.
spiral, maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
I agree. I saw it at the end of that when it was cameras pulling back. I was like, oh
It's
shit.
a circle. Of course,
Yeah.
it's a circle.
Look at that.
And then when it pulled back further, that shot. I mean, was that the tree to the left?
Was that the Tree of Souls? I don't know.
I don't think no, because
I didn't feel like it. I thought that was the one that she
know.
was at. That's a
Yeah,
different
that's
tree.
right. That's a different tree
That Dora Lange was at.
right. But a great pullout, a great shot, and I mean, episode 8, it's all going down now. Episode 8 is a huge secret because a lot of critics, a lot of friends of mine who have seen, like they released the first 4, so a lot of people who've seen the first 4 and they're like, yeah, this thing is great or this thing sucks, whatever it is, and then they release the next 3, and then people have seen them, but no one has gotten episode 8.
So are we all going to lose our shit? Are we all going to go mad? Are we all going to have some
I don't
Carcosa?
know,
Are we
but
all
there's
going
a
to
lot
go?
of like when you're friends with like a lot of writers and critics.
Yeah,
and stuff.
you're used to feeling that inside track.
Well, they do a lot of like, and I try. I don't watch this stuff. Like, even if I get it, I try not to watch it. Like, because I kind of want to watch it with the folks. But like, you get this sort of like, yeah, I've seen the first 6.
It's cool. It's all right.
I've seen the first 2. I've seen the first 8. Whatever it is. But what's really cool about this is no one's seen this one, so we're all going to be watching it together. And the fact that they didn't release it, makes it all that much more like, oh shit, right?
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and second your all shit.
Yes.
Oh shit.
Well, I don't know. Anything else? Anything we miss? Before we.
I'm certain of it.
Oh, of
Yeah,
course.
we missed 1,000 things. I'm sure.
No question.
I'm sure the internet will let us know.
They will light us up.
Yes.
We missed the inside of the shed there in the storage shed. We had the circular symbol on the
Yes.
inside of the wall.
Right.
What else?
Oh,
do we
something
miss?
I saw on the interwebs. Someone noticed that one of the paintings in Maggie's house may have had black stars.
Oh, Black Stars.
Carcosa. I'm
Yes.
reading
Which
that book,
leads
and
to
that book
my
is messing with
prediction.
me.
The King in Yellow.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, don't do it.
Well,
Don't
I'm
go
reading
mad.
it. I'm in it.
All right.
I'm in it.
Well, okay.
Just letting you know.
Don't go mad.
It's already happened.
Thank you all of us. I should remind you. Thank you all of us for joining us here and downloading us on iTunes. You've consistently made us the #1 show here at AfterBuzz. We've been #1 for the 6 of the 7 weeks that we've been on, and we really appreciate it. We also appreciate all your comments on iTunes as well, and continue to rate us. And we have our loyal fans, and we have our new fans, and we have our detractors, and you know what? We love you all. Thank you for downloading us anyway. I appreciate all your comments and all of our YouTubers who also listen and follow us from show to show, and also all the new people that listen to us. We appreciate you too. If you're watching us on YouTube, hello. And that's it. Let's jump into some predictions.
Do it.
I got one this time.
You got one?
Oh, you got to go.
Now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Well, for the first time in 18 months, Julia has come out and said I got one.
I actually have one.
So I'm ready to hear this prediction.
Now I'm panicking.
Don't panic.
No, I don't want to say it out loud.
Okay.
You must.
Okay. I predict that Marty's daughter, Audrey, the sort of effed up one, who's
no.
on and off her meds, I think there's a reason that she's effed up. I think she has been sexually abused and is part of this ring somehow.
Oh no.
Because if you remember, if we go back a little bit, they had the naked Barbie surrounded by the 4 other dolls. They had the drawings that she did, and now she's all effed up. And I think that it will really tie into Maggie's family with the rich father.
Oh no.
Ooh, you're good.
So I think she's been sexually abused, probably at the hands of the father, who is her grandfather, who will be involved with this whole Tuttle
Do you know that you used to be the worst predictioner ever, and now you're like winning predictions every week.
Yes.
And I don't even know if they're coming true. I have no idea because I don't remember them a week later. But
is.
they are fantastic.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, here's my predictions. I think the guys are not going to make it out of this one way or another.
Right.
I think that Eddie Tuttle is not going to go down. He's the state center. He's not going to go down. They may get the lawnmower guy, but I think the end of this is going to be very much like there's hiccups, and we occasionally some things happen, but we don't lose. And we've been running this a long time. We're going to keep running it.
Right. I think it's evident that these guys. Well, I think these guys aren't going to make it out. I think that the question is, how are they not going to make it out? And I think that, like, I like your prediction about it's something related to the family, but I can only think that, it'll be Hart will see something again that he just can't abide, and then that's gonna. And at a certain point, that you reach a point of no return. So they're gonna start. This only ends in death. Whoever's at the end of this, whether from not just Spaghetti Man, but I'm talking about the people who are in the family who are pulling the strings of Spaghetti Man, no pun intended again. They all will probably die, and probably all die by the hands of Hart and Cohle. And I think the ensuing, whatever happens after that gunfight or during that melee will result in their death. I don't know if that's an accurate prediction.
That's what I just said.
Death everywhere.
I just said that. The
People
guys are
gonna
going to
die.
die.
People gonna die.
People going to die. He did. We done?
What do you call a black? No, I'm just kidding. What do you call an Italian? I got nothing. Yes, we're done. Thank you for joining us for the AfterBuzz After Show True Detective Episode 7. After You Gone, we will have one to go, one big one. So we'll be there for next week. And thank you for joining us.
Where can we find you, Joe Braswell?
I screwed up.
Where can we find you, Joseph Braswell?
Thank you. You can find me on the Twitters and Instagram at Joe K. Braswell. And where can we find you, Joe?
You can find me on the Twitters at Joe Filippo, JoeFlippo, and on the interwebs. My website is josephsanfelippo.com. And Miss Julia Cearley, where can we find you?
On Twitter and Instagram with my name, Julia Cearley, JuliaCearley, and then here at AfterBuzz for many, many things.
Yes. I mean it now. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Woo!
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.